Deputy Head of Mission Poland. Dr. Qadri.
Nice to meet you. Thank you very much.
अब प्रॉब्लम हल हो गया।
Thank you very much. Chinese embassy represented nice. Here's the acting high commissioner, I think the other one of you.
क्या हाल है? बहुत इंतजार किया था आपका। السلام عليكم اهلا وسهلا
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I welcome all the distinguished guests, excellencies, dignitaries to this Pat Day on the 16th of December, 1999. Let us start with the recitation of the sacred verses.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العظيم.
Respectable guests, as you all know, that Kashmir is a flashpoint, a major flashpoint in South Asia and in the world indeed. And it requires serious attention and mediation by all members of the United Nations, all G8 countries, and all nations of influence. In that context, I would like to invite the leader of the APHC, representative in Islamabad, Mr. Muhammad Yusuf Naseem, to address the guests. Mr. Muhammad Yusuf Naseem, please.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the All Parties Hurriyat Conference of Indian Occupied Jammu and Kashmir, I, the General Secretary of All Parties Hurriyat Conference, would like to submit a few facts regarding Kashmir at a very crucial juncture when all the leaders of All Parties Hurriyat Conference are behind the bars in Jodhpur, India, only because they demand the promised right of self-determination for the people of entire state of Jammu and Kashmir. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the people of Jammu and Kashmir have been promised a right of self-determination by the United Nations, and this promise has also been made to the people of entire state of Jammu and Kashmir by both India and Pakistan. We, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, do not ask for the moon. We ask for the fulfillment of the pledges made by India, Pakistan, and the world community to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Jammu and Kashmir is neither a territorial dispute nor a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan. It is basically a matter of life and death of 13 million people. So we, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, reject bilateralism on Jammu and Kashmir, and we ask for the implementation of the resolutions regarding the right of self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. The people of Jammu and Kashmir have been suffering for the last 52 years, and more than 70,000 people have been martyred up till now. People are languishing in jails. People have been maimed. Women folk have been molested and humiliated by 700,000 Indian occupation troops in that occupied territory. And India is getting in more troops on one pretext or the other, and India has tried to hoodwink the world opinion by conducting farcical elections in the disputed territory, and we want to make it very much clear to the world community that we had been promised a plebiscite or a referendum under the auspices of United Nations after the withdrawal of troops from the entire territory of Jammu and Kashmir. We have not been promised election in presence of 700,000 Indian troops, and we have not been asked for an election, and we do not ask for an election wherein the right of self-determination of the people of Jammu and Kashmir is not the basic issue. How can the people of Jammu and Kashmir agree and accept any verdict of a military exercise where the people are dragged and where the people who oppose such farcical elections are kept behind the bars, and that too not in Jammu and Kashmir but in Indian jails, and where they are tortured mentally and physically. Excellencies, the issue of Kashmir is still lying on the agenda of the United Nations. We want to convey through your excellencies to the world capitals that people of Jammu and Kashmir are people. They are not cattle. They have the inspirations. They do want the pledges to be fulfilled. Lot of inhumanity has been done in Jammu and Kashmir. We want that bloodshed to come to an end. We have been asking for the implementation of UN resolutions, and we have been talking about tripartite negotiations on Kashmir. There should be negotiations where the basic party, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, represented by the all parties Hurriyat conference, they should be included, and they should be made the basic party in negotiations whenever it comes to the negotiations regarding Jammu and Kashmir. India and Pakistan may talk anything about trade, about cultural, anything, whether that is trade or culture or any other thing. But when it comes to Kashmir, it is not a bilateral issue, it is an international issue, and we want it to be recognized as that. We appreciate the step of the chief executive regarding Kashmir, because he did not extend the emergency imposed in Pakistan. That emergency was not extended to Azad Kashmir and northern areas. And by this, the whole world community should come to know that Azad Jammu and Kashmir, Indian occupied Kashmir, this is entire territory of Jammu and Kashmir where a plebiscite is to be held. And unless and until that plebiscite is held, there can be no peace in the region, and we are afraid that anything in this region can happen I don't know how many more Kargils will be put forth by the Kashmiri Mujahideen and the All Parties Hurriyat Conference, because 70,000 people of Kashmiris have already laid their lives for the right of self-determination. So I, as the General Secretary and a representative of the people of Jammu and Kashmir, would like all of you to sympathize with the just cause of the Kashmiris. And to the excellencies present here, I would only say that if the cause of Kashmir is a just cause, please support it. Please make it known to the world that the people of Jammu and Kashmir are yet to exercise their right of self-determination. I thank you very much.
I now request His Excellency Mr. Barrister Sultan Mahmood Chaudhry, Prime Minister of Azad Kashmir, to address the distinguished guests.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Professor Muhammad Tahir Qadri Sahab, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank Tahir Qadri Sahab for hosting this dinner and giving us opportunity to meet with each other and also to express our views. I do not make a long speech, as my friend has already made a speech on Kashmir. However, I would simply say that it's only a fortnight to go when we are entering into new millennium. The world is celebrating the new millennium. In last decade, we have seen a very difficult issues being solved, but Kashmir is still going into 21st century. This is and will remain a scar on the face of international community. What I would like to say, that we have asked international community again and again to come and solve Kashmir issue. And we are not even asking international community to intervene militarily as they have done in many areas. What we are asking international community to take a diplomatic initiative on Kashmir and come forward and solve Kashmir issue. It's even good for their own credibility. As I've said, that they should not have a double standard on other issues and on Kashmir. And I assure to the people of occupied Kashmir, as the Prime Minister of the base camp, that we will continue to support them. This is not a struggle only of the people of occupied Kashmir, but it is a struggle of entire Kashmiris, and the time is not far away. I'm sure the sacrifices which have been given in occupied Kashmir, I think that victory is not far away. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, the man I'm about to invite is a man who needs no presentation, for he lives in the hearts of the masses. He is a mild breeze of comfort and satisfaction for the needy. He is indeed a moderate and a progressive reformer of our time. To many, he may be a sincere and moderate religious political leader, but indeed he is also a great spiritual leader of his times. Recently awarded the International Man of the Year by the IBS, the International Biographical Society of Cambridge, 1998-1999, the International Man of the Year, I present Professor Dr. Muhammad Tahir Qadri to address the distinguished guests.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Honorable Excellencies, distinguished guests, brothers and sisters in Islam and humanity, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to the celebrations of Pakistan Awami Tehreek Day and express my hearty gratitude to your excellencies and distinguished guests for gracing this auspicious occasion tonight. I also wish to express my profound gratitude for the subtle insight and understanding shown by your countries over the military regime and the retrospective factors that led to it. I fully appreciate the concern of your worthy governments for the indispensable need of transparent accountability that would lead to the process of economic revival and restoration of democracy in Pakistan. However, as the facts revealed in the wake of pre and post socio-political scenario of 12th October and in the intended designs for the revival of true democracy in Pakistan have come to light, the encouragement shown by you is deeply appreciated. As you all are well aware of the debacle, chaotic and constraining circumstances which necessitated the military action and noble intentions of the present regime, documented by the pragmatic steps taken by the Chief Executive of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf. The approbation and understanding shown by your excellencies has played a dynamic role in salvaging Pakistan from a grave economic crisis inherited from the previous governments. In the Committee of Nations, the role of brotherly countries sustaining Pakistan is highly commendable, and we cherish and evaluate their encouraging relationship in the years to come. We are highly grateful that your encouraging cooperation has enabled Pakistan to come out of global isolation just within 2 months, and your contributory role has sustained Pakistan in her trials and tribulations. We are conscious that you appreciated the present position of Pakistan that increased her global posture in the Committee of Nations. I would like to present some relevant details pertinent to the evolution of democracy in Pakistan. Ever since the creation of Pakistan, the political system has been dominated by feudalism, which was worsened with the induction of affluence-based politics. The political bargaining became the order of the day, which thrust the nation into the deepest corruption abyss, engulfing bureaucratic, administrative, and even judicial setup in overwhelming proportions. This let loose a reign of terror, political repression, blackmail, violence, vindictiveness, and plunder, thus culminating to the despotic dictatorship and monarchical rule in country in the name of democracy. This sham democracy undermined the stability and integrity of the institutions, provincial autonomy, devolution of power, and decentralization of authority, which are the very essences of democracy. The democracy in Pakistan was only in the form of traditional farcical elections, full term or mid term, while the participation of people in the power process declined drastically. Consequently, the vote casting ratio fell down to almost 20%, whereas the interim governments inflated this percentage of the voter turnout with a view to establishing the credibility of the election process. Worthy guests, I am pleased to reiterate here the true concept of democracy. The democracy is not only an electoral tradition, but also a culture which goes down to gross root levels. It is behavioral, which calls for accepting individual rights, difference of opinions, tolerance, peaceful settlement of disputes, social equality, human parity, economic justice and rule of law. Democracy is meaningless unless human rights are ensured from top to bottom, equally popularized, strengthened, and promoted together with the universal basic elements of democracy. We believe that social and economic development is also impossible without democracy. The social development is interdependent on the economic activities and diversified developments warranting the human rights and rule of law as each being indispensable for each other. The aforesaid factors call for allocating the top priority to education, which builds the moral, social, intellectual, and psychological fabric and behavior of the nation. The education generates individual and collective patterns of behavior in the society through harmony and consensus. This democratic behavior develops a socio-economic order and politico-legal system which emerges therefrom and protects the human rights and preserves the respect and sanctity of judiciary and other constitutional, political and democratic institutions. This culture, this freedom of thought and action develops a culture which grants respect and protects the human liberty, equality and individualism. This culture ensures immunity to the democratic opposition, political parties, and religious and cultural groups, which promotes an atmosphere of tolerance and working relationship with each other, thus bringing about an ideal social order. We want true democracy in the country that is long awaited by 130 million populace of Pakistan, who have brought the country, and not the democracy of about 3,000 people, who have brought the country to the brink of disaster and economic recession. Unfortunately, democracy could not be ingrained in our polity, thus paralyzing the democratic system. Besides this, the edifice of law and institutions was impoverished while the rulers thrived and became stronger. In view of this, today it is not incumbent to revive the exploitative electoral system or process which breeds the money politics, corruption, biradriism, feudal influence, terrorism, harassment, socio-economic violence, disparity, and legal incrimination. Hence, the revival of this sort of farcical electoral process will amount to the revival of all aforesaid evils and returning to power of the same corrupt mafia responsible for the destruction of constitutional and legal institutions and political and democratic processes. So it is imperative that the aforesaid evils must be rooted out first for the revival of the true democracy in our country. It is an irony that the inherent and rampant corruption, multiplied manifold, and money laundering and embezzlement steeped in the whole society, there is no accountability at all at any level in the true sense, as succeeding corrupts could not hold accountability of the preceding corrupts. For the first time, the present setup has undertaken to implement across the board transparent accountability in the country. The financial corruption, bred default culture, and deplorable mismanagement in Pakistan. Rupees 211 billion were defaulted by the looters. Some of them got their loans written off, got them rescheduled, some got them restructured, and some defaulted. But their assets, factories, and affluence kept on increasing immensely. They transferred billions of dollars to the foreign banks. They received the kickbacks and commissions worth billions of rupees from different schemes in the country. The banks and financial institutions were devastated drastically. The loans taken from IMF and World Bank were misused. They were not spent on the projects they were taken for, such as education, health, social and environmental development, infrastructure, alleviation of poverty and unemployment, career planning, trade, industry and agriculture. The loans and the donations which were given by the World Bank, IMF, and European and Asian donors were misappropriated. The poverty and unemployment were on the increase. The agriculture, trade, industry, and all the economic sectors were collapsed. The trade imbalance increased. The exports were frozen, and imports were declined. Thus the custom duties and revenues receded to a great extent. The whole economy was crippled. Besides this, taxation system was not improved on the realistic grounds, although it needed to be restructured completely. On account of the wrong policies, informal economy increased by almost 70%. Tax evasion was on the increase, and broad-based taxation system was not evolved. No attention was paid for controlling the leakage. The elements of harassment and insecurity were not eliminated. It needs strong discipline and transparent system. In future, we have to break the chains of corruption which have shackled the administrative and fiscal system altogether, so that the corruption-free system and transparent discipline could be formulated properly. If the accountability process along with its multidimensional procedure was not given a proper time for its accomplishment and political and democratic revival, the political and democratic revival will plunge the country into devastation again. It is our basic need to materialize the real accountability for the restoration of democracy. Distinguished Excellencies, I feel it important to mention here that on account of our wrong fiscal policies and previous governments' freezing of the foreign currency accounts and wrong handling of foreign investors like IPPs, we have lost our credibility at both domestic and global level. That's why foreign investors restrain the investment. The poor governance has been our great tragedy that has caused the high-level monopoly, control, and lack of transparency in all spheres of national setup. One of our greatest problems is the loan of the World Bank, IMF, and other international financial institutions. Our internal and external debts have excelled the GDP. As I have already mentioned, that these debts have been misappropriated in the past. We were standing at the crossroads when the present government took over. Now either we are to get busy for paying the external debts or to improve the internal condition of the country by providing relief to the millions of the poor who are burning in the fire of poverty, unemployment, and price hike. The nation cannot bear any increase in taxes and utility bills in these circumstances. I appeal to the world community in general and to the World Bank, IMF, and other international financial institutions in particular, that they may write off all the debts of Pakistan in view of its aforesaid economic circumstances. The world community has been kind for exempting the debts of China, Egypt, Cuba, Chile, and some other countries once. These institutions can send on their wish the audit team of International Institute of Chartered Accountants to assess the genuineness of the case of Pakistan. This act will, in accordance with human rights and international justice, if we get this relief from the world community, we can concentrate on fiscal reforms, on good governance, on development of private sector, on human sources development, on agricultural reforms, on environmental health, and national and international growth and activities. Distinguished Excellencies, this is an era of social market economy, and we want to adopt it as a system for entering the 21st century. We have to revive such an economic credibility which could restore the flow of foreign and domestic investments. We have to prepare the peaceful and secure environment for the economic activities and transparent fiscal policies in order to provide the encouraging atmosphere to the investors. We have to introduce a dependable system based on strong economic discipline because our need is investment, economic growth, and prosperity. And we have to frame clear, fair, transparent, and predictable rules for coming out of this crisis. The present government is determined to rebuild the good civic governance that has always been ignored. We have to protect the property rights, investment rights, trade rights, and contractual rights with good incentives. We have to promote accessible courts and transparent judicial system. We have to enforce the sound securities, fair competition, competitive atmosphere, and strong anti-corruption policies that have been ignored throughout because they are the wheels of social market economy. It is also included in our priorities to ensure personal freedom and equality of opportunities, leading to socio-economic prosperity to the grassroots levels. And similarly, we have to improve the law and order condition and situation of our country. The heinous crimes, sectarian strife, human murders, and negation of human rights have not only damaged our socio-political life, but also devastated our economic and moral conditions. Respectable audience, I would like to mention that Pakistan has played a vital and historical role for the restoration of peace and democracy at both the regional and global levels. Pakistan armed forces have always played an important role for stabilizing the UN-sponsored peacekeeping efforts. In this regard, the examples of Indonesia, Somalia, Cambodia, Bosnia, Fiji, and many other countries can be cited. America and China were wedlock in friendship conducive to the sincere endeavors of Pakistan. Today, these two great nations of the world are flourishing in diplomatic, commercial, and cultural fields, thus sustaining the global peace in particular and regional in general. Pakistan played a tangible role being a member of the UN and Commonwealth in the Committee of Nations through remarkable execution of the international commitments and pledges conforming to all norms and standards. Nuclear proliferation, proliferation in South Asia is a matter of great concern for us. Pakistan is not interested in the arms race. However, India's nuclear build-up is a threat to the regional peace. It is a threat to our existence. For the restoration of regional peace and elimination of sectarianism in Pakistan, it is necessary that brotherly relations of Pakistan may be established with both Iran and Afghanistan. We three countries can collectively wipe out the sectarian tension and violence in this region. Pakistan wants the fair and democratic solution of Afghan crisis for quicker restoration of its peace and stability. The restoration of peace in Afghanistan will conduce to the peace of the whole region. Similarly, it is explicit that Pakistan is a gateway for Central Asian states. If the Western world helps Pakistan for the internal stability, strengthening the economy, and restoration of true and corruption-free democratic order, it can not only prove a promising market for the Western countries, but also a grand route for the progression of their business towards the Central Asian states, and similarly for the Gulf states and Far East. Distinguished guests, India is deceiving the world by maligning Pakistan and projecting itself as the largest secular democracy of the world. But its farcical democracy and fake secularism are debunked completely by its ferocious violation of the human rights in Kashmir and mass killing of the Christians and Muslims who happen to be its minorities. At the international forums, India is playing the diplomacy of double standards by vilifying and slandering Pakistan, dubbing it with fanaticism, and projecting itself as progressive, liberal, democratic, secular, and tolerant state. But the fact is that she is practicing the deep-rooted Hindu fanaticism and fundamentalism by carrying out an organized massacre and carnage of the Christian monks and their followers, and the Muslims destroying their churches and mosques. Moreover, Indian expressionistic and aggressive designs pose a formidable threat to the security of Pakistan, which warrants a guarantee and complete immunity for its safety and protection before Pakistan goes for signing NPT, CTBT, FMCT. The long-term issue of Kashmir should be resolved in accordance with the UN resolution and aspiration of Kashmiris. As you know, that we are in particular geopolitical conditions. Many factors necessitate attention in our regional environment. Kashmir, as already mentioned by two speakers, is a fundamental issue amongst them. All efforts for solution of Kashmir issue, ranging from Tashkent and Shimla Pacts to Lahore and Washington declarations, have failed. The Kashmir issue is a real human and democratic issue, warranting the right of self-determination. This is not an Indo-Pak bilateral dispute, but an international issue, and Kashmiris are positively a party to it. We want that the Kashmiris may be given the right of self-determination according to their wishes and the resolutions of the UN, and they may also be given a chance of free and fair plebiscite as promised by the nations of the world. The Kashmiris do not want the division on the basis of religion or geography until the Kashmir issue is resolved according to the principles of international justice, according to the principles of democracy, according to the principles of human rights. Of the South Asian region cannot peace, of the South Asian region cannot be restored. I'm just asking, particularly the distinguished excellencies who belong to the Western world, the whole Western world, the America, the Canada, the European community, the whole Western world, they not only believe in human rights, they believe in animal rights. They provide the law, they formulate the laws for positive protection of animalistic lives, and nobody is allowed to violate any right of any animal in the Western world. Here, on the land of Kashmir, more than 70,000 Kashmiris have been butchered. Their lives have been spoiled. In the Western world, you and know our Western brothers, they are providing the environment to safeguard the rights of animals. I just ask, for the sake of democracy, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of human respect, for the sake of international justice, for the sake of social parity worldwide, that here the human beings are being killed. If the animal rights are not allowed to be violated in the Western world, the human rights should also be protected in the same way. We just want democracy. We just want justice. We just want rule of law. We just want parity. We just want human equality everywhere. And we just want involvement of global and Western community for the purpose of solution of Kashmiri issue, just for the sake of law and the humanity and nothing else. India is our hostile neighbor. Her expressionistic designs are detrimental to the existence of Pakistan. India was the first to make the nuclear explosion, and she played a persuasive and offensive role, whereas Pakistan was forced to become a nuclear power for her existing being defensive. Pakistan has invited India many times for talks on Kashmir issue, and also extended the invitation for international mediation. It is only India that has always been denying internationally recognized principles of peaceful negotiations. So I appeal to the world community, whose honorable and influential representatives are here, to help us in the solution of the Kashmir issue for the sake of regional and global peace. Pakistan is a peace-loving, democratic and moderate Islamic state, abiding by the Quranic principles of human rights and fraternity, averse to all sorts of extremism, terrorism and fanaticism. Pakistan safeguards the equal rights for her minorities in all walks of life, without any discrimination in the context of race, sex, creed and faith. The human fundamental rights are ensured to every citizen of Pakistan. We as a Pakistani nation firmly believe in Islam as the religion of peace and social order, of global brotherhood. And Islam, its original root word is salama, which means peace. The whole Islamic teachings begin from peace and end on peace. Our worship begins with peace. It ends on the message of peace. So Islam is a message of peace. Islam is a system of peace. It is a philosophy of peace. And its message of peace is global for all mankind, indiscriminately, indiscrimination of sex and cultures. The Islamic social order, we believe in ethical resilience and modernity and moderation. The Islamic social order enjoins the creation of a tolerant and peaceful environment that upholds the principles of human rights, human equality, mutual tolerance, socio-economic justice, and participatory democracy. These teachings and principles are not only attributed to Islam just in this century. These basic democratic human principles of Islam were announced and promulgated by Holy Quran and by Prophet of Islam 14 centuries before, when he was giving a just social human order for the mankind in his last sermon of Hijjatul Wida. And he was stating, La fadla li arabiyyin ala jamiyyin, wala li ajamiyyin ala arabiyyin, wala li ahmar ala aswad, wala li aswad ala arahmar, illa bit taqwa. Kullukum banu Adam wa Adam min turab. He said, there is no superiority for an Arab to a non-Arab, or for a black to a red, or for a white to a black. All human beings are equal, and each of you are created from dust. And your father was too created from the dust, and he is Adam. So Islam propagates. Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, he provided the first written constitution of the world in the form of Pact of Medina. This was the first written constitution of the world, the Pact of Medina. And Holy Prophet provided the rights of human beings, the right of minorities, their political rights, their social rights, their religious rights were protected. And when the Christian delegates used to see Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, he used to allow them to stay in the mosque of Medina just to provide the idea that this is the respect which is being given by Prophet of Islam to the religious freedom of the non-Muslim minorities. Islam, we strongly condemn inter-societal hatred and religious extremism, sectarian violence, terrorism and killings. Islam guarantees religious and socio-cultural freedom regardless of caste and creed and culture, and promotes inter and intra-faith harmony between various cultures. Pakistan believes that this is the right time to build the global human society by creating a peaceful environment of religious tolerance among all faiths and cultures, by eliminating the sense of insecurity everywhere felt by the minorities. We are strong exponents of women's rights and vehemently condemn the discrimination and victimization of women throughout the world. Pakistan has been contributing to the international peace missions and democratic process, but at the same time, as an important member of the Muslim Ummah, it has the obligation towards the Muslim states as well. Thereby it is a matter of great concern for Pakistan and for the whole Muslim Ummah that the people of Chechnya are being ruthlessly massacred. The world in general, and the Muslim in particular, are profoundly feeling the grief of the killings of Chechen Muslims. The UN, America and the Western countries should play their decisive role towards ensuring them peace and protection from any kind of aggression going on since a long time. Finally, the takeover of the armed forces has given a sigh of relief to the people of Pakistan. The people have welcomed the army. They did not stage any protest in the country. They applauded the role of the army for setting aside the government. The armed forces did not abrogate the constitution. Instead, they have temporarily suspended it. Rather, it was already suspended by all practical means. The courts are functioning adequately. The fundamental human rights are intact in the country. In fact, this takeover is being considered by the masses a blessing in disguise. The long outstanding demand of the people was a ruthless and transparent accountability of the corrupt politicians and bureaucrats, which has been promised by the Chief Executive of Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf. The General has presented a 7-point agenda, which has been acclaimed by the nation. The people harbor a great hope and confidence on their most sagacious and loyal armed forces. The armed forces are very clear in their minds that they will not stay in power for a single day after complying with the agenda. They are determined to eradicate the social ills and make the political system and democratic culture corruption-free. The deterioration law and order situation has been effectively controlled since the new regime took over the country. Blind murders, sectarian violence, day-to-day rape cases, car snatching, and extrajudicial killings have been drastically reduced, and an atmosphere of sense of security is now prevailing comparatively throughout the country. Since corruption is the biggest obstacle in the economic development, and it causes erosion of social political values, setting up of National Accountability Bureau is a highly laudable step of the present setup ever taken by any government during the last 52 years. The present government has assured complete freedom of press and media, which is the backbone of democracy, and it plays a vital role in the formation of public opinion. This is the first time which I have observed that a couple of days before there was a baton charge, lathi charge on the media people, photographers and reporters on the Mall, Lahore. All of a sudden, a severe action has been taken, and the responsible police officers for that baton charge, they have been transferred, and some of them have been suspended adequately, just to ensure the freedom of media in Pakistan. The present government, the trial of the deposed Prime Minister is being conducted in the civil courts established by himself, and there is no bar on the press coverage of his trial. For participatory democracy and devolution of power to the grassroots level, now new local body system is being introduced by the government. Remedial measures are also being taken, and monitoring cells have been established for the depoliticization of institutions. The chief executive is making political contracts starting from the smaller provinces which were ignored by the previous governments. All it shows that the government is making a headway towards restoring the true democratic process. The 7 points agenda proclaimed by the present government, if given a chance to be completed, will ensure the revival of true democracy as envisaged by the father of the nation, the Quaid-e-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Pakistan has ever proved herself a trustworthy and reliable ally if she is treated with mutual respect, confidence and justice. The world is proceeding from unipolarity to multipolarity. And today when I am talking of Pakistan, this the 16th day of December is the day of downfall of Dhaka, when India attacked on Pakistan in order to bifurcate its solidarity, in order to eliminate its integrity. So by this kind of expansionist and terroristic developments which have been happening on the side of India, we always feel that we require justice by world community. Now it is the moral obligation of the USA, G8, Western communities, Commonwealth countries to vindicate the honor of their staunch ally. At the same time, Pakistan, being the stalwart member of Muslim Ummah, deserves that all the Muslim nations should stand shoulder by shoulder with Pakistan. Honorable Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, at the end, I thank you again for gracing the celebrations of Pakistan Awami Tehreek Day. Although this occasion was in the celebration of our political party's day, Pakistan Awami Tehreek Day, but I decided not to place and not to put party's case before you. I prefer to put my country's, my nation's and Pakistan's case before the world. Because the primary responsibility of every political leader, whether he is working in the government or in opposition, is to work for safeguard of the nation, is to work for the protection of the country, is to work, strive and struggle for the protection of the country. If our country is safe, everybody is safe. So I prefer to place the case of my nation and Pakistan before the world community, not the case of my party. I'm not interested in that. If a case of Pakistan is properly appreciated and understood by the global community, I think the case of every citizen of Pakistan will be properly appreciated. So, you graced this occasion in a short notice by sparing your most valuable time and affording me an opportunity to express my compassionate views so as to seek your affinity for Islamic Republic of Pakistan through your good offices and collaborations. Your presence tonight on this auspicious occasion is an ample proof of your friendship and affinity with the people of Pakistan. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Addressing the respectable guest was Dr. Qadri. And now please enjoy your meal. Bon appetit.